Hello, this is Shauna from the Foiled Fox, and I'm here on the Paper Tray Ink and Ink to Paper YouTube channel sharing a new set. There's always new coming out, and it's called Leaves in Fall, and it has this one panel stamp set that has a grouping of leaves and then lots of sentiments. And then it has a matching die set that has lots of things in it, more than the stamp set. And it has the large leaves, it has a long stem, and then you can cut out the sentiments as well as those grouping of leaves. And then this is a fabulous new die. It's called Woodwork, and it cuts out these great wood panels, and it has some real intricacy to it. And then, of course, one of our favorites is this collection of Feathered Friends birds, and this is a new one, and he's really extra cute. It's number 5. And then I'm going to be using a sentiment from Be Merry. So I'm going to take some white cardstock for all of this, and I'm going to lay out all the pieces that I'm going to be cutting, and I'm going to cut them out in white cardstock. And you can see I'm going to use those big leaves and the stem, and also these woodwork dies. So here they are all stacked up. I've cut them all out. And by the way, use an intricate, the metal plate for an intricate die for these woodwork ones, so you get all that detail so it all pops out. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. And now we're going to keep the bird all intact, but we have the leaves, which I'm going to push out the 5 leaves I'm going to be using. I cut out a grouping of leaves by mistake. We'll just set that aside and use that at another time. But I also cut out the stem there. And I'm going to leave that in its negative space, be easier for me to color. And then right now I'm going to take these little pieces that come out of this woodwork die. This is what's so fabulous. It reveals this wonderful woodwork pattern. And you can see there, they're just really fantastic, and you can use them in so many different ways. So I'm going to take the 3 that I'm using, and I'm taking some Festive Berry Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just blending it on very haphazardly. I'm making sure that I'm still leaving some white exposed, and I'm just coloring them. I have the 4 of them that I cut out, but I'll only use 3 for this project, and we'll just choose which 3 we're going to. But I'm just intensifying the ends of these a little bit. And then those are all done. Now we're going to move on to the leaves, and these leaves I'm going to layer on some ink. So I'm going to start out with green parakeet, and I'm going to put green parakeet over all of the leaves. I chose to have these be a brighter green because I wanted kind of that holiday Christmassy feel to them, because this is a holiday card, kind of a non-traditional but a great one. Maybe you have somebody that just loves a more modern card, and this would be perfect for them. And I'm adding on more of that green parakeet. I'm making sure that it's covered very nicely all over each of these leaves. And now I'm adding on new leaf. And I'm just adding the new leaf primarily at the top of each leaf, but I'm making sure that I'm maintaining some of the color of the green parakeet. And now I'm adding pine feather, which really gives really nice shading. And that is at the top of the leaf as well. Again, trying to preserve these colors and just adding some dimension so that it has different colors. And then I'm going to use the next color, which might surprise you. It's Enchanted Evening, which is a blue. But as you can see, it just kind of intensifies that pine feather, and I really like the kind of slight blue tone it adds. And now I'm going to color this stem with the pine feather, the Enchanted Evening, and a little bit of new leaf. It is so slender that I do want it to be darker, but you don't have to worry about it too much. And you can see keeping it in that negative space really helps it from bending. But now that that's done, I'm going to go on to the bird. And the bird, I really want to keep as much of it as I can in its negative space. It'll be so much easier to color. And there's a couple of these pieces that are just being stubborn and they won't stay in place, so we'll just set those aside. But I'm going to start out with a fine linen. And I'm using this little tiny blending brush, and I'm going to start out at the top of the head. Now there is a piece that goes over the top, but I want to color this anyway. And I'm just coloring the places that I know that I want to have brown. I'm going to create a little robin for this, so it's going to have brown and then a red breast to it. So I'm just going to build the color again like I did with the leaves. Started with the fine linen, now I'm using cocoa bean, and I'm just adding on some more browns. And then I'm going to move from, once I get these browns on the way I want them. And by the way, I'm using a rather light touch. You can always add more ink, but it's hard to take it off. Now I'm using some true black just to intensify those tail feathers and the wing feathers and little the tops of the head, just little parts of him. And then down by his leg, I'm going to add a little bit more of the brown and the black as well. And then I have, of course, his extra pieces of his wings, um, and also there's his beak, which I'm going to make black, and his eye is black. And then, of course, there is his feet as well, and I'm going to add on the brown with that. But right now, I'm going to add just very light, the fine linen on these little pieces that came out, and you'll see how these pieces come together. I only want just a touch of color. See, that goes at the top of his head. This one's going to get more intense color because it is at the top of his head, but I'm being careful to still maintain some of the white. You do want to have it not just be a solid piece of brown, because it'll have more interest if you leave little bits of light and dark. And now his little feet I'm going to make make brown, but I am going to add some other colors to him. But let's first do the breast. Here I'm using pure poppy, and adding on, again, I'm building this color. I'm using a light touch. Like I say, you can always add color, but it's hard to take it off. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of intensity to this color, adding more brown to the bird. And I'm going to add more brown to the feathers, as well as I'm going to make the leaves darker, or sorry, his legs darker. But I'm going to start out by just kind of putting him together. So I'm putting that top piece. Now it's hard to see because he's in his negative space. So let's pop him out of there. See, I put that top there. It has that little notch where his little beak goes. And then there is this little piece that goes underneath where his beak goes. And then now I'm going to put a little touch of glue and just push his beak down. I made his beak dark, but of course you can make it yellow or orange or what other color you would like it to be. And we're going to just continue to add pieces to it. This piece goes over where his eye is. And then of course we're going to add his eye on as well. I just love coloring these birds. They're so much fun. Just a dot of glue for the eye. And then we'll add on his little feet. I added a little red to his feet and a darker brown just because I thought it would go better with his whole body. Gotta make sure that those all line up. It's pretty easy to do. I just put little drops of glue there and then just line up his little bits of his feet. And then of course now his feathers. And these feathers have little areas where you can push them up, and they cut out parts of his wing to add some dimension to his wing. I don't glue those completely down. I want them to stand up a little bit. I'm encouraging them to do that so it adds more dimension to the bird. The recipient of this card will love those little extra things when you do that. So I have all the pieces together, and I'm using a berry sorbet card base, which is 4 1/4 by 6 1/2 when folded. And then I'm putting a vintage cream panel on top that's just slightly smaller than that, just so that the little bit of the berry sorbet peeks out. We're going to glue this down. I put some double stick tape on there. And then now we'll just start adding some pieces. So I'm going to add on these woodwork pieces, and I'm going to stagger those on. And because there's so many holes and intricacy to this die, I'm going to just add little bits of glue. I'm not gluing it all down. I don't want it to just plaster it on there. I just want to lightly attach it. And I'm going to attach all three exactly the same way. This is going to build our background. Now I'm going to add on that little slender stem, kind of stretching across all three of these panels. Now that's all laying down. We're going to add on our leaves. Now I've added a little bit of foam tape to the top of each leaf, not to the bottom, but just the top. And then I'm kind of bending them so I can curve them to go around to have a little bit more dimension again, so that they have kind of a domey look to them. I cut off that little bit of the stem left over at the top, and I'm going to arrange these leaves. And I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of the bird as well, because all of these are going to pop up. I'm just going to get an idea where I want these leaves to go. And now that they're kind of approximately in their space, I'm going to just peel off the foam tape and then stick them down. Makes easy work of this. We'll get all of those in position, and then we'll, of course, add our little bird. And I just love this bird, how he's sitting there on the stem. He's perched there. Birds are some of my very favorites. So it's a perfect match, I think. And then now I'm going to just add the sentiment, and that's going to be all we need to do. This one I'm using Warm Wishes because I wanted a short sentiment, but of course you can use any sentiment you'd like. I stamped it in Pure Poppy on some vintage cream paper, cardstock, and I trimmed that off. And then I just took my blending brush that had still a little bit of that Pure Poppy on it. I didn't add more ink. I just used what was already on the brush and just kind of lightly highlighted it. And now I'm going to just stick it in place with some foam tape. I'm going to need a little bit more foam tape. I thought I could get away with it just on that one end, but I need to add a little piece also all the way across the foam strip, the strip, the sentiment strip. And so there you have it. It's all pulled together. Here's another one that I made that has kind of a more Zen look to it, and it uses one of the sentiments. But right now, let's look at the close-up of this card that we just created. I think it's a wonderful modern kind of holiday card that you can give, and who doesn't love a wonderful bird? And then also I'm going to show you the other one that I did, which has the it shows it with a soft stone background, and then the leaves are colored a little bit differently. They have a little bit more of a darker tone to it, and I think I used spring moss instead of the green parakeet to add some yellow in. And it has the white wood planks and a blue bird, which is so cute. I just love the blue bird. You can color this bird any color. I've colored him many different colors, and he works out beautifully. So here is a few items that I used here for the Leaves in Fall, the woodwork die, and the Feathered Friends 5. You can find more information on the blog at blog.inktopaper.com. And I hope you loved this bird as much as I did, and the other elements. So do pop over to the blog, or you can go to foilfox.com, where we have everything there as well. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We'll see you next time. Bye.